Yes, a few years ago, I made a video kind of like this where I wanted to make it sort of a yearly thing where I talked about my expanding Switch collection and all the new games coming out. But yeah, as usual, that didn't really pan out as planned. But what an amazing system the Nintendo Switch is. Some people think that it has slowed down, but I really feel like it keeps getting great games. And I think I mentioned it before. For me, a lot of people buy Nintendo consoles for the Nintendo games, but um, I'm usually more interested in all the third-party offerings. There's just something about the Nintendo ever since the NES days that just kind of attracts some really interesting games. And there's still plenty of games in my backlog. I seem to recall games I've mentioned in my first video that I hadn't gotten around to playing yet, and that still holds true. So I didn't necessarily want to make a video that was just games that just came out this year, but they all are relatively new. So here is 7 games that I played in 2021, not necessarily in any particular order. First up, let's talk about this one, Shin Megami Tensei 5. This is a game I kind of looked forward to because I always like a good RPG, but I have to admit that I got immensely filtered by this one. It's probably not in good taste to say. I feel like it's not in good taste to say that you prefer Persona. That kind of feels like a normie scrub kind of admission. Because after all, Persona is a spin-off of this series. But it isn't just the character interaction. There's also something fundamental about Persona, about the gameplay, which this is pure gameplay. Just something like, for instance, that you have AI-controlled partners that will automatically exploit the enemy weaknesses once you figure out what they are. And I feel it's a shame that they don't do that in this game. You have to do everything manually, and that feels very old school, for better or for worse. I know that some people, it was their favorite game. I only played a couple of hours this. I need to play it more to I might turn around on it, but early beginnings, not very positive compared to as many other RPGs. Next up, here's a great one, No More Heroes 3. This is a case where you get exactly what you pay for, especially if you're already a No More Heroes fan. This is gonna kind of sound like a hard sell because it's kind of more of the same like the other No More Heroes games, but their problem is that it actually has a lot of major parts in it that are kind of boring. But that's kind of a good thing in a way, because that really makes the really good and memorable parts stand out. There's all these random battles and side gigs and stuff you have to do to progress, and yeah, it's not super entertaining. I thought they did a better job in No More Heroes 2. They took the side gigs and they kind of turned them into these kind of mini games that were kind of 8-bit inspired and had great music. This also true to it has great music, and of course the biggest thing about Grasshopper Manufacture game and Suda51 games is that they have a lot of style. Nobody makes games like this guy. This is something that is so cool that it's almost incredible. It's hard to explain just how cool you feel while playing this. They do have a lot of really hammy and cringy voice lines, and that some people, when you look at it from the outside, might see as bad, but you cannot. His style is so unique and amazing, and then everything from UI, graphical design, and the splashes of colors and all the stuff it explores, and references to pop culture, which isn't just forced, but really something that you can tell that this is something that the developer really felt passionate about. That's what makes No More Heroes. And No More Heroes 3 is another great entry to that series. And maybe the finale, maybe you have to play for yourself to find out. No More Heroes 3, highly recommended. And here's another great surprise. The Great Ace Attorney, this is kind of the triumphant return of the Ace Attorney series, the Phoenix Wright series. These games, Phoenix Wright, the first one came out and blew your socks off, and then Capcom did the Capcom thing where when something is relatively popular, I mean like Mega Man or Street Fighter, they just keep cranking sequels out until you kind of either get tired of it or fed up. And there's a lot of Phoenix Wright games that I haven't played, but this one was great. It is pretty much, the series. If you know the series already, it's pretty much a visual novel, but it's a great entry point into visual novels. It's very light on the reading, even though it is walls of text. It is very light, easy to read, easy to understand. And these games originally, this series, specifically The Great Ace Attorney here, originally 1 and 2. It's 2 games, I think, in one, if I remember correctly. They originally came out on 3DS, and I think the reason why Capcom didn't put them out in the West is that they have always been a little bit afraid to have games that are too Japanese. I mean, games that talk about Japanese culture and history and stuff. They've always been a little bit afraid to put that into Western games, and famously they changed a whole bunch of stuff for Phoenix Wright, as they've done for other series before it. Fun mystery, great appealing characters, really ridiculous stereotypes on foreigners, and by that I mean the British colonists in this. So another highly recommended game. Also available on the PlayStation, on the PC, if I remember correctly. There's Battleaxe, which I would venture to be a little bit of a hidden gem. This is made by the same people who put out the way more famous Xenocrisis, if I remember correctly. These are the Xenocrisis people. Yes, Bitmap Bureau. This is not like Xenocrisis. It is a top-down action game where you can play a co-op. There's no like procedural generated levels. It's kind of like a static level design, and it reminds me. Maybe it's the name Bitmap Bureau, but it actually reminds me a lot of a Bitmap Brothers game called The Chaos Engine, where it's a top-down. It's 2 characters. Here it's only 2 characters if you play co-op. But 2 characters that you watch from the top, and they run around and shoot stuff and have to progress through some linear levels. Haven't completed this one yet. I get stuck on the same part like 20 minutes in over and over again. So yeah, I need to get back and get good at this game. It's fun, very quite a fun challenge, and beautiful. Unlike Xenocrisis, which was obviously a game that was originally intended to be made to fit what's within a Mega Drive cartridge. It had to make use of the best to the best of their ability, how much power they could get out of the Mega Drive. And Xenocrisis does look like an arcade game, but they have no restriction on the graphics, on the 2D graphics on this one. So I want to say they really went all out on the graphics. I think this might also have originated as a Kickstarter once. But yeah, the physical release was one I picked up, I want to say earlier in this year. And it's a great, very, very fun, great arcade game, much like Xenocrisis. But yeah, I've heard absolutely no one talk about this, but I think it's great. So Battleaxe, be sure to check it out. Cruisin Blast. The lost art of the arcade racing games. When people talk arcade racing games these days, they talk, oh, Forza Horizon, and it's so arcadey because you drive around, and yeah, it's not really arcadey, I think. So there's something missing, and I couldn't really put my finger on what it was, but it's all in this game. This is the kind of the craziness, the linear level design that you need in a good racing game. I don't really care for all these open world racing games where kind of like drive around and it's all the same and we changed the weather a little bit and stuff. No, you need like the linear design, and Cruisin Blast have that in spades. Driving through one of my favorite levels is Central. It's not called Central America. The Rust Belt, Middle America. You have your trailer parks, and you ride through the interstate, and there's tornadoes and cows blowing around, and big train that drives along, and yeah, it's just beautiful. Also a very arcadey game. Obviously, I think it originated as an arcade game, and then later got put out here on the Switch. Arcade and Switch exclusive. Interestingly enough, you'd think a 3D game like this would make its way onto other systems, but it's great. It's just such a breeze that you buy this, you get a full game on this cartridge. I want to say there's no patches on it, or you can at least play it without patches. You start it up. There's no need for any extra downloadable content or anything like that. It's just all here. It's the complete package. And then when you look at the credits and you look at the team that's made it, it's like 50 people or 20 people or something. It's such a small team, and they've done such an amazing job. This is the best, absolutely, in my opinion, the best racing game I've played in years. Doesn't have all the unlockable live service crap that you find in other modern arcade racing games, but it does have unlockables in the form of keys. There's keys around the levels that you just drive and find and pick up, and the more you pick up, the more vehicles you unlock, and the more you race with the vehicles, the more graphic improvements on them you unlock. It's just graphical, and it's just fun, and it plays great. There's one, Aria Chronicle. I bought this one simply because of the graphics at first. I looked it up and thought, yep, that's a game that I want. Beautiful 2D hand-drawn graphics in this one. You can see some of the characters in the back here, and the screenshot here, but obviously it's also the gameplay playing here. It feels a little bit like Darkest Dungeon. I want to say there's this and then another game called Mistover, which is also on the Switch, and both of those feel a lot like light versions of Darkest Dungeon. This one is great. It's not as hardcore or gritty in both the difficulty level or design as something like Darkest Dungeon, but yeah, it's great. It's the same system. You have you have two main characters, and you simply hire mercenaries to fill out the ranks. You move around the labyrinth in order to complete various missions in these labyrinths. That could be from collecting stuff to finding a certain monster to kill it, or just getting from A to B to progress the story. And yeah, you come back to town, you rest, you build new equipment, and then it's back into the dungeons, rinse and repeat. But yeah, this is another beautiful game on the Switch. I don't know why you would need all these modern consoles with 8K graphics and 900 frames per second when you get beautiful hand-drawn games that run at 60 like this one. Okay, so the final game I wanted to talk about is this one, Double Dragon Neon from Way Forward, and published via Limited Run Games. This is a rather old game, actually, came out on the 360, PS3, I want to say as well, back when Xbox Live Arcade was a thing. And I gotta say, I didn't really get it back then. I played it a little bit and was like, this is a little bit too slow. But I think I might have matured a little bit since then, because now it feels very methodical. It has a great system. It has this kind of counter system where you have a dodge button that you use to either roll out of the way or duck out of the way, and then you get a powered up counter attack if you choose to counter attack. It's very good in that regard. And I want to say there were also these guys were also the ones who were probably a little bit ahead of the curve with the whole 80s nostalgia thing, which some people might think are a little bit played out now, but I still like it. Maybe because that was my childhood. So yeah, good game. Probably one of the better Double Dragon games. It's a really hit or miss series, even though it's such a milestone in gaming. But Double Dragon Neon, excellent game, very much worth checking out. And that's pretty much it here. A lot of fantastic games that I played here in 2021. And now I'm dropping them on the floor also. But yes, here they are. And I want to say that was some great games, even though it felt like a bit of a slow year in gaming in general. There were some great games and a lot of great experiences, and I bet there are more to come. A lot of surprises that we don't even know about yet. So, what have your favorite Switch games been in 2021, and what games are you looking forward to? Sign off in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching and take care.